fuck you think 15 years gonna do to a nigga like me? I know niggas doing life. And I put them there. Give me 20.
D-Mac, Kevin Gaines, both connected to death row, both surely involved in Biggie's shooting, and both untouchable. Why? Because they're both LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Cyberland, coming back to you with another film review, and this time moving on to something a little different. So City of Lies is a, I don't want to say it's a documentary. I don't want to say it's a work of fiction either. Not totally nonfiction. But it's pretty much about what happened with the murders of Christopher Wallace and Tupac Shakur. And it gives a further depth of how involved the LAPD apparently was with the murders of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, to what extent that was. It also goes into depth about the Rampart scandal. I don't know too much about that, except that there were policemen that were working for Death Row Records, Suge Knight. And this film delves into that arena, and it gives a perspective of, it doesn't solve the murders of Christopher Wallace and Tupac Shakur. However, if you're somebody who wants to know more about what happened and why, and not just go by he said, she said, I think you should. I think you should check out the film. It gives a depth of Johnny Depp, or the great Johnny Depp, was wonderful as a character that. He was a former police officer who eventually left the force, and he had been trying to figure out these incidents that were happening throughout the film. When he's backtracking, they were all connected. And, you know, this one incident that happens at more so the beginning of the film starts a ripple effect to where he starts pointing stuff on a map about what's really going on and why things happen the way they did, and then getting information from people on the street, what they know. And then Forrest Whitaker comes in at some point and wants to, he's trying to get the story about what really happened and what's going on, and he starts picking Johnny Depp's brain and trying to figure out what really happened with the murders of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace. And as we continue to go through the film, we see. And again, I want to be careful with how I say this, because I'm not trying to offend anybody. it just shows the type of corruption that was going on during this time period. There it is. Because it did come out later. I was a kid when all this stuff was going on. I was in middle school when Tupac and Biggie were tragically killed. And then, I didn't really pay too much attention to the aftermath. And it wasn't until probably a couple years ago I saw a documentary called Welcome to Death Row. And watching that and then watching this, there was a correlation with what really happened and what was transpiring behind the scenes. To most people, it's just music, but there was a lot more behind it than just music on both sides. And unfortunately, 2 people lost their lives because of it. And we see that, there's a reason why people were scared of Suge Knight. A huge reason. Like, people would say, you would hear so many different people say things about Suge Knight over the years, whether it was Daz or Snoop or Dre or Corrupt or DOC, Eazy, Jerry Heller, Vanilla Ice, Rage, Michelle A. You would just hear so many different, and I'm just saying, RBX, and I'm just saying people that I can kind of pinpoint that said something that struck me. There's other people that said things too, and you would think people would be like, oh, that's not true, this or that, and actually, no, it is true. A lot of it had some elements that was really, really downright scary, really concerning for a record label, and the type of power that Death Row was exhibiting in the music industry, and the type of reach that Suge Knight was having in California with certain individuals that happened to be part of the LAPD at the time, and other officials, which may have been attorneys or may have been just gang affiliation. So, my rating for the film, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. There wasn't anything I didn't like about the film. I felt it was kind of like another, like the documentary of Welcome to Death Row, and I felt this was the other side that's incorporated into that, but was an entirely separate entity. Like, watch this and then watch that. Because to this day, neither murder's been solved, and I don't think, there's always, I always hear people over the years say about who did it, and this was the person who did it, and this is what happened to him. But it's kind of like a Kennedy thing, like, the people that know a lot are dying off, or they've been silenced. And it's one of those things where maybe at some point that information will come forth. And when it does, it'll probably be after the people that were responsible are no longer among the living, so they can't be tried, and they can't be, they don't get that shame that comes with it. They kind of just, it's on their name now, but they're dead, so what difference does it make? They don't get to deal, they don't get the reproach that comes with what they did, kind of thing. It's just like, oh, such and such did it. Oh, okay. Well, they're dead anyway. It's kind of like Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper doesn't get to be tried for his crimes and have to be called out for his behavior. There's no shame. It's just We know Jack the Ripper killed these people. That's what they called him, whoever it was. And we know it was 2021, and this happened back in the 1800s, and we know that he's dead. He ain't lived. He ain't still alive. We know that much. It's kind of one of those things where I think at some point it'll come out all the people that were responsible, who did the hit for both sides, and who orchestrated, who was in charge. But I think when that does come out, it'll just be like those people will never be convicted of it because they're already dead. Like they've already passed on, kind of thing. Like all the evidence points that they did it, and it's officially confirmed that they did it, but they're already, they're no longer amongst the living. So it's just kind of like we can just put it on their profile that they did it, and that's it. Or we can allege that 95% points to they were the ones that did it, but they're no longer living. So take it for what it is. So I would say if you want to delve more into what happened and you want to get the perspective of what happened with the LAPD at the time and all the chess pieces being moved around the board in regards to who did what, check it out. You won't be disappointed. It's not an action film. It's a crime drama. Somewhat of a thriller a little bit to me too. But yeah. That being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.